Before starting the story, I would suggest you guys to go subscribe to the channel. It turns out that most of you guys who watch me aren't actually subscribed. So, if you like the content and want to support the channel, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell. It's free, and you can always change your mind later. My name is Chris, and this is the most horrible memory from my childhood days. When I was 9 years old, my parents got separated. They were going through a complicated divorce. To keep me out of this, they sent me to stay with my grandma. My grandmother lived in a small town named Springdale. My mom admitted me to the town school. Being the new kid in school is often challenging. In my case, I had bullies. There was one boy in my school named Scott. He was bigger than me and pretty much every other kid my age. Hence, he took full advantage of his strength. Every day from the moment of stepping inside the school, Scott scared the children with his gang. He often snatched my meal, pushed me hard to the ground, and made me do his homework. I was already a shy kid with a troubled household. I knew if I tried to protest, he would just cause more trouble for me. Unfortunately, Scott and I lived in the same area, so he was completely capable of beating the shit out of me on my way home. There was no way I could talk about being bullied in school, because they were already going through a lot. So I just walked home with Scott, while he kept making fun of me the entire time. Scott wasn't just mean to kids, but he loved creating trouble in other people's lives as well. He especially loved playing Ding Dong Ditch on our way home from school. It's still a popular outdoor game among kids. There were hardly people in the streets during the afternoon, so Scott used to ring the bells of any random house and then run away. I had to run with him too. Sometimes Scott used to force me to ring someone's doorbell while he stood away and was ready to run at any moment. For this stupid idea, I sometimes got caught by homeowners and they scolded me for disturbing them. One day, I was coming home with Scott. It was a hot summer afternoon, and there wasn't a single person on the road. Scott said, "Let's go to the park. I'm thirsty." The kids' park in our locality had a drinking tap. I was reluctant to go there, because it would be an extra 10-minute walk for me. In a hesitated voice, I said, I don't want to go to the park. I have to go home early today. My dad is coming to visit me." Scott slapped me on the head and said, "Come on, I need someone to carry my bag." Then he laughed like the meanest kid in the world. I had no choice because he would beat me more if I disagreed. We took a left turn ahead and started to walk towards the park. Needless to say, the park was completely empty, and the swings were moving slowly in the wind. I stood beside the water tap holding Scott's school bag while he drank water. I was standing quietly when my eyes went to the other side of the park. I hadn't been to the park much, maybe which is why I never noticed the surroundings properly. I saw a small wooden house standing on the opposite side of the park. Surprisingly, it was the only house in that barren area. It felt like the townspeople had kicked out the owner of the house to live alone. "Looks spooky, huh?" Scott said to me. I looked at him and asked, "Who lives there?" Scott took his bag from my hand and said, "The madman." I obviously thought that this was one of his stupid jokes, but I didn't see him smiling or laughing once after saying that. "What do you mean by that?" I replied. Scott pointed towards the house and said, "There lives an old man whom the town call the madman. People say he murdered his wife and got away with it. The cops never found her body, nor the murder weapon. He was taken into custody for being a suspect behind his wife's sudden disappearance, but there wasn't a single piece of evidence against him." Being honest, this story did scare the hell out of me. I said in a nervous voice, We should start going home now. My grandma will start looking for me." Scott laughed and said, "Someone just chickened out, it seems." I was too scared to start an argument, so I just started to walk as fast as I could. I heard Scott's voice coming from the background. "See you tomorrow, moron. Walk faster, or the madman will get you." That night, I had a terrible dream. I saw I was standing near the wooden house. The house was completely silent, as if no one was alive inside. Suddenly, I heard a weird sound coming from the window on the left. As I got close to the window and looked inside the house, I saw a creepy-looking man with a big knife in his hand, already standing there and man watching me. I jolted awake, covered in sweat. During lunch at school, Scott again started to make fun of me for being scared about the wooden house near the park. The more he laughed, the smaller I felt. A sense of anger took me over, and I said in a loud voice, "I am not scared of some stupid, scary story, Scott." Scott looked me up and down, and then replied, "Oh, really? Then let's try out your courage today. I also want to see how brave you are, moron." And started laughing again. I said, "Fine, tell me what I have to do." Scott's eyes dazzled immediately. I knew he was going to come up with one of his bizarre ideas to get me in trouble. But that day, I was also adamant to not give up. Maybe, I thought, if this one time I could prove myself, Scott will finally agree to leave me alone. Scott said, "How about we play Ding Dong Ditch after school? You will start with the madman's house. Are you up for that?" I said, "Yeah, let's do it." After school, Scott and I started to walk towards the park. He was constantly making fun of me. I was really angry, so I avoided him and kept walking quietly. As soon as we took the turn towards the park, my heartbeat grew faster. I just realized what a stupid move I made. We stopped after reaching the middle of the park. The wooden house was standing like yesterday. Scott said in a whispering voice, "Ready, Chris?" I looked at him with a scowl on my face and started to walk towards the front porch. I prayed to God that this would be over as quick as possible. I was at the front door, and the doorbell was on my right side. I turned back and saw Scott was hiding behind a bush at some distance, watching me with a mocking smile. I rang the bell twice and ran like a cheetah. There was a big tree at some distance, and I immediately went behind it and hid. 5 seconds went by. A minute passed by, but no one opened the door or even made a single sound. Scott gestured with his hand and told me to ring the bell again. I again walked to the door, and without wasting a single second, rang the doorbell and ran towards the bush where Scott was hiding. I said in a proud voice, "So, I rang the madman's doorbell, not just once, but twice, Scott," and laughed like a king. I saw Scott's face turning red in anger. He probably felt ashamed for losing to me. He got up and said, "Whatever, I can do this too. Watch, moron." He then carelessly walked towards the porch. Suddenly, my eyes went to the window and I saw someone move inside. I said in a loud voice, "Scott, come back, that's enough." Scott turned to me and said, "I'll show you what's enough. I'm stronger than you." He walked to the main door and started to ring the doorbell vigorously. He was about to come back when the door unexpectedly opened and someone grabbed his hand. Scott started to scream like a baby. I got up from the bush and saw a horrifying-looking man standing on the porch grabbing Scott. The man said in a squeaky, creepy voice, "I have been waiting for this moment for so long. I hope you don't scream like the last one." He then licked Scott's cheek with his ugly black tongue. I screamed at the top of my lungs. The man started to pull Scott inside. Scott was screaming and trying to get away like a caged bird. Suddenly, I saw a big rock lying beside the bush. I picked it up and threw it on the madman. The rock hit him so hard that I could almost hear his skull cracking. The man fell on the floor while screaming in terrible pain. Scott freed himself in that second and we ran for our lives. Scott didn't come to school for 5 days. We heard he had caught a high fever. I talked with my mom the very next week, saying I don't like this place and every other trouble I had in school. But I never told anyone about the madman or the wooden house. I don't know where Scott is now, or if the house still even exists. But honestly, I don't even want to know. Do you believe in ghosts? Because I do. Let me share this one terrifying incident of my life, and you will know why I asked you the following question. My parents used to pamper me a lot. There was hardly any situation when I asked for something that they didn't make it happen. I liked playing with toys and dolls. On my 6th birthday, my dad bought me a ventriloquist dummy from the town fair. The dummy was almost the size of a toddler. It had a pale white face with round, popped-out eyes. Even though my mom wasn't excited about this new toy, my dad persuaded her into buying it for me. The dummy wore a tuxedo with a red bow on its neck. I started to grow fonder of this new toy, and I named him Spiky. One night, my mom called me to come for dinner. My room was upstairs while my parents slept downstairs. I started to take Spiky everywhere I went. That night, as I sat for dinner, I placed Spiky right beside me. My mom said, "Jim, don't bring your toys to the dinner table. Go keep it in your room." My dad replied, "Come on, Lily, let the kid be. What's wrong if he loves his doll?" I still remember what my mom replied. She said in an uncomfortable voice, "The way this dummy stares at me, it creeps me out. There were plenty of toys at that fair. Why on earth did you bring this one home, Robert?" My dad never took such comments seriously, so he laughed hearing my mom complaining about a stupid doll. I, on the other hand, never felt weird about Spiky. We stayed in a quiet neighborhood, and I was never good at making friends, particularly at that age. My dad worked in a law firm, hence he remained very busy throughout the week. My mom, on the other hand, applied for a job at Walmart. One day I came home from school and heard my mom's joyful voice inside the house. After hearing for a few seconds, I realized she was talking to my Nana. "I am so excited to finally get this job, Mom." "Yeah, Robert and I have decided to keep a babysitter to watch over Jim." "Mom, I'm home," I said in a loud voice. She hung up the phone and came to hug me. I realized that she was happy with the job. That night, she cooked my favorite dinner. While tucking me to bed, my mom said, "Jim, your father and I will be working late tomorrow. I've called Sophie and she will be with you until we come back. I want you to behave and listen to her, okay?" I replied, "Okay, Mom." She kissed me on my forehead and I went to sleep. The next day, my dad left for work while dropping me off at school. Sophie was our neighbor's daughter. After a fun day at school, my mom took me home. She handed me sandwiches to eat. I was eating in the dining room when our doorbell rang. My mom opened the door and said, "Hi, Sophie, come on in. I've given sandwiches to Jim. His dinner is in the fridge and I've cooked something for you too. Don't forget to microwave it before eating. You two have fun. I'll be home by 9. My mom left for work. Sophie sat down on the couch and started watching TV. After finishing my meal, I went to her and said, "Sophie, would you like to play hide and seek with me?" She rolled her eyes and said, "Don't you have toys to play with? Go in your room and do something on your own. Don't disturb me." I got sad and went to my room. I heard Sophie getting busy on the phone with her friend. I sat in my room quietly and then suddenly felt something standing behind me. As I turned around, I saw Spiky was sitting behind me, looking at me. Right at that moment, I felt Mom was right. Spiky does have a lively stare. I whispered, "Spiky, would you like to play hide and seek with me?" And then laughed. I placed Spiky turning his face towards the wall, and I went to hide. After 10 minutes, I got bored and realized I can't play hide and seek with a doll. I went to hide inside my mom's closet. As I opened the closet door and came out, my eyes widened in shock. Spiky was sitting on my mom's bed, looking directly at me. This time, his face felt different to me. I could see a creepy smile on his face. I rushed towards Sophie, who was dozing off on the couch. "Sophie, wake up!" I said. What happened?" she said in a confused voice. "Spiky's real now. He's scaring me," I replied in a sobbing tone. Sophie replied in an irritated voice.
What? What are you talking about? I swear, I'm not lying. He's sitting on my mom's bed.
I replied. Sophie got up and went to my parents' bedroom. She took Spiky on her hand and said,
Okay, I get it. You want me to play hide and seek with you. Fine, let's play.
Sophie faced towards the wall and started counting. I said in a nervous voice,
But Sophie, I saw him.
She looked at me and said,
Do you want to play or not?
Honestly, I really wanted to play hide and seek at that moment. So, without saying anything further, I went to hide upstairs. I got under my bed and waited for Sophie. I heard her voice downstairs.
Ready or not, here I come.
I don't remember how long I hid under the bed. The house got extremely quiet. I waited for Sophie to come upstairs, but never heard her footsteps. After some time, I came out of my room. I went downstairs and found the living room in complete darkness. I called out,
Sophie? Sophie, where are you? You were supposed to find me?
No reply came. I said it again.
Sophie, stop it now! You're scaring me!
Just then, I heard running footsteps in my mom's room and a spine-chilling scream. I rushed to the room and opened the door. Fear ran down my spine. Sophie was lying on the floor with her mouth open, and Spiky was sitting over her while stabbing her deep with our sharp kitchen knife. A whimpering sound came out of my mouth, and Spiky turned its face towards me. It was someone else. Spiky was smiling, showing his razor-sharp teeth. My doll wasn't just a doll anymore. Bloodstains were splattered all over the wall. Sophie choked for a while, and then silenced forever. I screamed and started to run towards the main door. I heard footsteps behind me. Turning back, I saw Spiky was chasing me with a sharp kitchen knife. I screamed once again, and I was close to the main door when he grabbed my feet, and I fell on the hard wooden floor. My head started to feel heavy. Everything started to blur in front of my eyes. I saw Spiky coming at me with a sharp knife and laughing like a maniac. I couldn't take it anymore, and I passed out on the floor. When I woke up, I found myself lying on my bed. The sound of cop cars numbed my ears.
Mom,
I said in a feeble voice. My mom rushed towards me.
Oh, my baby! Jim, I am so sorry.
She then started to cry. My dad kissed my forehead and said, Take a rest, son. The conclusion of the story is told to me by my parents. When my parents came home, they found the main door half open. They found me unconscious on the floor with a bump on my forehead. Needless to say, they found Sophie's bloody corpse in their room. The cops came and everyone assumed someone broke into our house and killed the babysitter and knocked me unconscious. The only logic that no one could find is why? Why someone did all this, because nothing was stolen from our house. A few days later, when I started to feel better, my dad asked me, Jim, where's your doll, Spiky? My face turned pale in fear. I knew no one would believe me, so I said, I don't know, Dad. Till today, my parents find it really weird that the intruder took nothing except my stupid ventriloquist dummy. But I know he's escaped and now roaming free. I'm 27 years old now, staying in an apartment in California. Every night before going to bed, I check my room and lock my windows. The last thing I would like to see is Spiky standing next to my bed with that bloody kitchen knife and saying,
Wanna play hide and seek, Jim?
The content of this story can be disturbing to some, hence viewer discretion is advised. This is a true incident that happened during my college days. My roommate, Maria, was a party animal, while I, on the other hand, was a shy, awkward girl. I've been like that since high school, which is why I never really had that many friends. Maria became quite popular in college. She was beautiful and highly extrovert at the same time. She often forced me to go partying and nightclubbing with her. Out of boredom and loneliness, I started to hang out with her and her friends. There was a guy named Ed who used to flirt with Maria a lot. He's probably like the one guy who can go to any extent to gain female attention. Sometimes he ended up doing really stupid things, but his charming nature saved him from embarrassments whenever he made a fool out of himself. One chilly winter day, I was sitting in the cafeteria having my lunch. Maria came in and said, "Hey Cheryl, are you up for a slumber party tonight?" Is it gonna be at our place?" I asked awkwardly. "Well, the location is a surprise. Are you up for it or not?" she asked. Honestly, I had nothing to do that night except my laundry, so I thought to myself, it'll be good for me, to socialize a bit. So I agreed. Ed was standing near the food counter. He said, "See you ladies tonight. Maria, hey, I'll text you the address." We came home and Maria started to pack for the party. In a confused voice, I said, "So where is this going to take place?" Maria laughed and said, "We don't know." "What? What do you mean you don't know?" I said. Maria turned around and said in a mysterious voice, "I mean, we haven't decided the house yet." I wasn't getting anything she was saying, so I asked her, "Maria, you guys are making me worried now. What are you up to?" She got close to me and whispered, "You'll see," and left the room. Later that evening, my mom called me, asking to see what my plans were for tonight. I told her I am about to spend the night at a friend's house. She said, "Good, I always tell you to socialize with Cheryl." After talking with her for about 30 minutes, I lied down on my bed. A sense of doubt started to grow in me. What are these people up to? I hope they don't do anything dangerous. At around 9, Maria and I finished our dinner. Maria received a text from Ed that read, "Meet us at the vacant lot on IMR Street." Now, my eyes widened in tension. I said, "Maria, are we gonna barge into some random abandoned house for a slumber party?" Maria said in an irritated tone, "God, Cheryl, can you just chill for a sec? Look, if you don't want to come, you can stay back and do your laundry." I felt a bit hurt by her words, but at the same time I realized if I didn't go with them tonight, they might never invite me to another party. I didn't say anything more and sat quietly in the car. Maria drove the car on the highway and took a left turn. We got onto a dark and dusty road. The vacant lot in IMR Street is an infamous place. Many terrifying incidents have taken place there. Drug dealers and burglars take shelter in those empty houses. After half an hour, we reached our destination. We got out of the car and I checked my phone. It was 10:30 already. Standing in a vacant lot at that time gave me goosebumps. Maria was about to call Ed when we heard footsteps nearby. I got spooked immediately and turned around to see who it was. Just then, Ed jumped on me saying, "Got you, Cheryl!" I almost screamed with terror. I pushed him away, saying, "Not funny, Ed." He started to laugh like an idiot. Ed's roommate, Matt, said, "Come on, Ed, knock it off. Enough with your silly jokes. Let's just start this party." The four of us parked our cars under a big oak tree and started to walk down the alley. Old, worn-out wooden houses were scattered around us. Maria pointed out the last house on our left and said, "That one." Ed looked at her and replied, "That's the one then. Come on, let's go." In a nervous voice, I said, Guys, is this a good idea? I mean, what if someone's already in there?" Matt then said, "Then we'll be in trouble." Maria said, "Shut up, you two. There is no one in that house. Can't you see how dark and quiet it is?" Ed pushed the door, and it opened on its own. All of us checked the house, and there wasn't anybody inside. There wasn't any electricity either, so we lit some candles around us. Maria turned on some music. Ed brought beers for everyone, and we started the party. After half an hour, I also thought to myself that maybe this wasn't entirely a bad idea. Sometimes taking a little risk can be fun. Around midnight, everyone was drunk, so we paused the music and started to chat. Everyone was sharing their experiences of college life when suddenly Maria said, "Hey,
Do you want to play a game?
Ed smirked at her and said,
I would love to play games with you.
and then laughed flirtatiously. Maria responded, saying,
Oh, stop. I'm talking about a different type of game.
I asked.
What game do you want to play?
Maria stared at us for a second and said,
Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Matt and I laughed. Ed said,
Sure. Who wants to be the dead body?
Everyone exchanged looks, but no one volunteered. After a moment of awkward silence like this, Ed said,
Fine. I'll be the dead body.
He then laid down on the floor. Maria placed a candle close to us so that we could see him properly. She then said in a low voice,
Everyone gather around him, making a circle, and place your 2 fingers under him.
Matt and I did exactly what she said. I was feeling so drunk that this entire situation made me feel like I was in a different world. Maria also placed her finger and said,
Ed, I want you to be completely relaxed. Start to think you have no weight, that you are light as a feather.
Ed chuckled once and said,
Okay. Hope this works.
Maria said,
Be serious.
and then closed her eyes. There was dead silence around us. Maria said in a low tone,
Everyone says with me, light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
We joined her in the chanting. I don't know how long we continued like this, but suddenly I felt like there was nothing on my hands. I moved my hand, but it touched the empty floor. We all opened our eyes and were shocked. Ed wasn't on the floor. Matt said,
Oh my god, is this all real?
Maria was shocked too. Maybe she didn't expect such an incident. All of us were sitting with blown out faces, thinking, did this ritual make Ed float away? And things like that. Right at that moment, Ed came out from the dark corner of the room and started to laugh.
Look at all you fools. You guys are total douchebags, man. You thought I'd float away?
We all got up off the floor, embarrassment covering our faces. Maria got angry and said,
You're not funny, Ed. You're just a...
But before she could finish, Ed's face started turning pale. He got completely quiet and started looking here and there. I said,
What happened, Ed? What is it?
He replied,
Don't you guys feel the air? I mean,
I don't know what happened, but what we saw next made our stomachs drop. Suddenly, something lifted Ed into the air and bashed him hard onto the ceiling. Ed screamed at the top of his lungs. We all watched him floating in the air with big eyes. Something then threw him hard on the floor, and we heard the sound of a neck snapping. Ed stopped screaming immediately, but his body kept moving up and down. It was being bashed repeatedly, once on the ceiling and then to the floor, like a kid playing a sick joke on its poor toy. Blood started to splatter all over the room, and Ed's brain came out from his skull. It was like a gory scene from a Hollywood movie. I don't remember how we managed to leave the house and call the cops that night. The cops are still investigating this case. We got into some serious trouble as we had to face rough interrogation on what we were doing in a vacant lot that night. But they couldn't find us guilty for our friend's unfortunate death. Honestly, whatever that thing was that killed Ed ruthlessly that night might still be living in that empty, abandoned house.